Hi everyone, welcome to Firefly in the Willow Yoga. I'm Rebecca. In today's class, we'll be exploring the theme of detachment from overthinking as we use some common yoga poses to settle the mind and open the body. This class was recorded earlier today at sunrise, so you'll see it starts off in the dark and the light joins us as we go through class. I won't be using any props in this video, but please feel free to bring along anything that will help make your practice more accessible to you. So now take a moment, roll out your mat, and I'll see you in class.
I invite you to come onto your mat in whichever way is most comfortable for you. If you would like to, you can come to a hero's pose or Virasana. The tops of our feet and fronts of the legs are some muscles that we don't often stretch. So sometimes starting out in this pose can be nice. And remember that you can put some pillows or even some blocks underneath your hips if this is uncomfortable for your knees. So once you've chosen the pose in which you'd like to settle in, just allow your hands to relax naturally on your legs. And this might be palm up or palm down. Maybe if you're sitting in Sukhasana, you like to rest your hands on your knees. And just begin to settle in here, allowing your shoulders to drop away from your ears and deepening your breath down into your belly. Just take a moment to tune in to what your body feels like sitting here today. Maybe there are some places of discomfort in the body. Those are usually the ones that grab our attention first. And take a little trip through the body and see if you can find some places of comfort or ease as well. Check in with your sense of hearing and what you can hear in the environment around you. Listen for a sound that's far away, a sound that is up close, and then maybe even for a sound that's coming from your own body, like your own breath. Hear how the sound of your breath is like an ocean wave coming in and out. And keeping your awareness on that sound of your breath, begin to make some natural movement with your head as you listen to the breath. So maybe this is inhaling the nose up slightly, exhaling the chin to the chest. Or maybe it's some other movement for you. Just bringing some range of motion into the neck, just gentle motion. And now bring that motion to stillness. And we'll begin to just draw a line with the nose, a circle with the nose in the air. So just begin with a very small circle, imagining that you're just using your nose, maybe on the wall or a piece of paper, to draw a small circle. And as you become more comfortable with this motion, allow the circle to grow a little larger. And now just a little larger. Being cautious with those small bones in the back of the neck, focusing more on tucking the chin than on tipping the head back. Now take this in the other direction, starting again, maybe kind of small, if that feels good for you. Or maybe starting right in large. See if you can really bring this stretch into the sides of the neck, back of the neck. And then when you're ready, allow that to come to stillness back in the center. If you're seated up in Virasana or Hero's pose, we'll let the feet come out from underneath now, crossing them in an easy cross-legged seat. And here, if you haven't already, you can allow your eyes to flutter open. And coming to our seat now, we'll just allow our hands to inhale up overhead, really reaching up through those fingers. And as we exhale, twist over to one side. Doesn't really matter which side. Allow the fingertips to come to the floor behind you and really reach that spine up nice and long. Spend a lot of time kind of hunched over desks and cell phones. This is an opportunity to really grow the length in the spine. And then inhale, arms come up overhead. And exhale, dropping in on the other side into that twist. You might even hear a little snap, crackle, pop. That's me today. And then inhale, arms come up overhead. And we'll exhale, bringing hands to heart center. Taking just a short pause here to bring the thumbs to your sternum. And if there's any intention that you want to set for your practice today, maybe any reason that you come to your mat, you just want to keep in focus, allow that to come to you now. We'll take a deep breath together to seal that intention. And then exhale to let it go. Allowing your fingers to interlace here now. We'll press the palms away from the body as we sweep the arms up overhead on an inhale. And exhale, allowing the hands to part, fingertips swim down. We'll bring those hands back to heart center. And do this again, pressing the hands away, inhaling, arms up overhead. Exhale, fingertips rain down. Interlacing fingers, pressing the palms away one more time. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, this time allowing the fingers to swim around behind the back, interlacing the fingers at the base of the spine and pressing your palms together here if you can. If that's not accessible to you, just allow the space to be there. And then press the knuckles down and away, opening through the shoulders. And here we'll use the nose again to draw a line just a little up towards the ceiling or the sky. And exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, up to the sky or the ceiling. Exhale, chin to chest. And one more time here, inhaling the nose up. And exhale to release, tucking the chin. We'll allow the fingers to unlace and the hands to gently come back to the knees here. And we're just going to do some seated cat-cows next. So as you fill the belly, allow the shoulder blades to come back, the belly to come forward. And then as you exhale, pull the belly button into the spine, round through the shoulders. And make this just really delicious here in your own way. So if you like to bring in some other movement, just whatever feels good. Really focusing on that tailbone here. Rolling the point of the tailbone back as you open up. Rolling the point of the tailbone forward as you exhale. And a couple more here with your own breath. And then when you're ready, come back to seated, bringing the shoulders back over the hips. And we'll move from here into a tabletop position. Just taking some moments here to find your alignment, your connection. And then we'll allow the knees to come out wide on the mat. Toes are touching here, reaching the hands, a couple of handprints out in front and sinking the hips back as we come into an extended wide leg child's pose. Feeling that external rotation in the legs, stretching out through the lower back and the fingertips. We'll begin to move here, inhaling as we allow ourselves to peel up from child's pose, coming over the hands here, and then exhale back to child's pose. And if you like, you can bring the knees in a little closer here as we inhale up over the hands, and maybe even allow the low back to sink forward slightly as we come into a small back bend. Being really gentle with yourself here, not allowing that back bend to go any deeper than you need it to. Exhaling back to child's pose. And then inhaling back up to our little back bend, maybe making this an upward facing dog as you become ready. And then bringing this back, we'll all meet in our child's pose. And then keeping those fingertips reached out nice and long. We'll inhale to come up from child's pose, turning the toes under and shifting the hips up into downward facing dog. And just to experiment with something a little different today and what that feels like, allow your feet, if you like to come out to the wide edges of your mat as you come into your downward facing dog. And just notice how that changes the pose for you. Are there places that it brings it into your body more deeply that you don't usually notice, or places that feel a little easier to move? And you can still pedal the feet out in this wide leg down dog. And now allowing the feet to walk in back closer towards each other. We'll bend the knees deeply, shifting the gaze up to the top of the mat and walk slowly up to the top. And then exhale into forward fold. Inhaling all the way up to stand. And bringing the hands to heart center. Just taking a moment here to reflect and absorb what it is like to come to standing. And tuning into our foundations. Maybe take a moment to glance down at your feet. Spread your toes nice and wide. Really think if you can connect with what it feels like, what it means to balance over all four corners of your feet. And then building that foundation from the ground up, allow all the muscles to hug into the bones as you work your way up through the body, bringing a little micro bend into the knees, shoulders relaxing down the back. And we'll move from here, from this place of connection, inhaling the arms up overhead, reaching out through the fingertips. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale, coming into the fold. Planting both hands, we'll step back with the left leg. And then exhale as we deepen the hips, looking forward if you can, coming into a lunge on the right side. Planting both hands, you can step back to plank or half plank, pulling that belly button in. And you can go straight to downward facing dog here if you like. You can come into or chaturanga, maybe hovering for just a moment at the bottom, and then releasing all the way to the floor. Tops of the feet come to the mat. Inhaling up, baby cobra. And exhale to release, rolling the toes under, pressing up through plank or half plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Big deep breath here. And let it all out. Inhaling the left leg up. Exhale, left leg comes through the hands. And then looking forward, sinking that right hip down, coming into a lunge. Right foot comes to the front. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, release into your forward fold. Keeping the knees nice and bent if you need to. Inhaling all the way up, coming to stand. Coming straight through, exhaling, hands all the way down. And then reaching back up, inhaling all the way to the top. Maybe this time you like looking up towards the ceiling a little. Maybe your neck's not friendly with that. Either way is fine. Exhale, coming into forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Stepping back with the right leg this time. Sinking that right hip down, taking the gaze forward just a bit. Planting both hands now. Stepping the left leg back to meet the right and coming straight to down dog. or exhaling into your chaturanga. See if you can hover just a moment and then release all the way to the floor. Tops of the feet come to the floor. Inhale up, baby cobra. Exhale, release. Rolling the toes under, pushing up to half plank or plank and back to downward dog. Big deep breath. Let it all out. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, right leg comes through center. Coming into your lunge, sinking that left hip down. Left foot comes to meet the right. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. Take a moment here just to absorb, to receive, to notice. Notice here where your thoughts are going. Thoughts are always coming, always going. See if you can allow them just to come and go like that ocean wave. Allowing yourself to be the observer. Just watching them come and go without getting too involved or swept away in the tide. And then letting that go. Inhaling, arms come up overhead. This time we'll sink the hips back as we come into chair pose. And if having the arms reached out overhead here doesn't work for you, remember you can always reach out front or find any other comfortable position for your hands. Coming into chair pose. And then we'll exhale, bringing the hands to heart center and flowing down into forward fold. Inhaling as we come up halfway. Exhale, releasing into the fold. Planting both hands here, we'll step both feet back, coming into plank or half plank. And then coming to down dog or coming through your vinyasa. If you'd like to inhale up to up dog now, remember keeping the thighs and knees up from the floor. Rolling the toes under, coming back to downward facing dog. We'll inhale up through the right leg, exhaling, bringing that right leg forward. And then dropping the back heel so that it connects with the mat. We'll inhale up, warrior one. No rules here about coming up in any particular form. So remember, you can adjust your alignment once you come up, pressing forward maybe through that left hip, pulling back through the right. Exhale, hands come back down to frame the foot. We'll step that right leg back and come through a vinyasa or come to downward dog. Rolling the toes under. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhaling up through the left heel now. Exhaling, bringing that left foot through to the center. Dropping that back heel. Inhale up, warrior one. Exhale, hands come back down to frame the foot, stepping that foot back, coming back to plank or half plank. And through your vinyasa or downward facing dog. Coming back to our down dog now. Bending those knees generously if you need to, really pressing away from the mat, rolling the hips up towards the ceiling. And then bending the knees deeply. We'll take the gaze forward, coming to the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release into the fold. And inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. Inhale, sweeping the fingertips up overhead. Exhale, we'll come down into forward fold. And from here, we're going to take the right leg and take a nice big step back here, coming into our high lunge. So take just a moment here to check in with your lunge, looking at your knee and your ankle. See if you can bring that ankle right underneath the knee. And then really pressing out through the heel here, pulling in through that lower belly, taking the gaze either a couple of feet in front of your foot or maybe out front slightly. And see if you can bring some lightness into your fingers here. Maybe even allowing your fingers to just brush the mat. Really firming down into those feet. And then we'll plant the hands back on the mat, really rooting down through the right hand, inhaling open through the left. And now allow that left hand to find the mat. We'll drop the right knee, taking the top of the right foot to the mat. And then slowly bring yourself up here, maybe taking one hand and then the other above that bent knee. And you can stay right here if you like. Or inhale the arms up overhead, pressing forward through that right hip. Exhale, fingers come down to the mat. We're going to allow that right leg kind of kickstand out behind us now and walk the fingers over to the front of the body, extending out long through that left leg so that the left side of the foot is in connection with the floor. And then from here, we can plant that right hand and inhale the left arm up and over the ear as we come into a gate pose or a variation of gate pose. And then allowing that, actually, this is my left arm, right? Allowing that arm to sweep back around in front. We're going to walk back around to frame that front foot. Coming back up on the toe as we come into our lunge. And then bringing that right foot back to the front. And coming back to forward fold. Inhale up to stand. And then exhale, hands come down through center, all the way down, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Stepping back with the left foot as we come into our lunge on the right side now. Again, checking in with that alignment, checking in with that foundation. Bringing the gaze a couple of feet in front of the foot or maybe looking out front. Bringing that lightness into the fingertips. And if you can't lift your fingers from the mat, that's okay. Just bringing the sensation or the intention of lightness into the hands helps build that strength in the legs. Planting the hands now, we'll plant into that left hand as we inhale, open through the right. And exhale, bringing that hand down. We'll come to the knee, allowing the left knee to fall to the floor. And then bring yourself up slowly, first one hand and then the other. And inhaling the arms up overhead if you like. Inhale, really finding extension in the spine. And then exhale, hands rain down. We'll kickstand that left leg around behind as we walk the fingertips around stretching out through that right leg, this time planting the left hand, and then inhaling that right arm up and over the ear, pressing out to the outer edge of the right foot, really reaching those fingertips out, feeling that stretch in the side body. Oh, and then allowing that right arm to sweep down, walking the fingertips back to the top of the mat, and back into our lunge. And then when you're ready, back foot comes to the front. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. And inhale all the way up to stand. Hands come to heart center. Come to the center of the mat now. Find your way here. First, let's come into a chair pose. So really sink your hips back here in your chair pose. Pull that lower belly in, pull in through that mula bandha. And then really ground down into your left foot. Press down into your left foot. And as you continue to press into that foot, lift the right heel from the floor, maybe even just touching the right toes. Feel that engagement in the left leg. Maybe you pick the toes up from the floor, maybe you don't. And then planting that right leg back down. Inhale up to stand. Take a moment here to reset. And then we'll come back to chair pose. Again, not so important here where your hands are, wherever you're comfortable. And then really grounding down into that right foot. Really pressing down, maybe lifting the left heel, bringing the left toes to the mat, or maybe letting the foot just hover. Find your focal point. And breathe. And then dropping that foot back to the mat. Inhale back up to stand. And now inhaling, the arms open wide, allowing the thumbs to rotate behind you slightly, really opening through the front of the chest. And then as you exhale, bringing the right arm on top. We will bring the elbows to 90 degrees, allowing the fingers to find the palm as we come into eagle arms. And find just a little micro bend in the knees here. From here, we'll inhale, bringing the elbows up slightly, deepening that stretch through the back of the shoulder. And then if you like, exhale, bringing those elbows down. You can make this a little fluid here, inhaling the elbows up. Exhale, elbows come down. We're now finding that place right in the center here for your arms. We'll exhale as we come into sort of a small chair pose, not a full chair here, but a small chair. And then really grounding down into that left foot. Again, we'll begin to bring those right toes up from the floor. And maybe you continue to keep the right toes on the floor, or maybe you hover, or perhaps you cross the knees. Maybe even you bring the top of that foot behind the other leg. Finding your focal point here. And then allow yourself to inhale, release and unwind, opening through the chest again, bringing those thumbs back. And exhale, bringing the hands down to the sides. Take a moment here to do whatever you need to do to reset. And then we'll inhale the arms open wide. This time, as we're exhaling, bringing the right arm over the left, coming into our eagle arms on the other side, keeping that little softness in the knees. Inhale, elbows come up. Exhale, elbows come down. Inhale, elbows come up. Exhale, elbows come down. One more time here. Inhale, elbows come up. Exhaling down. And then finding that place right in the middle that's just right for you. Sinking those hips back into that mini chair pose. And then grounding down into that other foot, this time bringing the left toes to the mat. Maybe staying right here, or maybe crossing the legs over. Perhaps you even find the mat with the toes on the other side. The eagle pose may not look the same on both sides, and that's okay. Just pay attention to where those thoughts are going. Allow them to come and go on their own as you find focus here in your pose. And then when you're ready, inhale, unwinding, open up. Exhale, hands come down to the sides. Grounding back down into that left foot again. We'll bring the hands to heart center here. Finding that little softness in the knees, bringing the shoulders onto the back. And again, build that foundation from the ground up. So we're moving here into chair pose. I'm sorry, not chair pose, tree pose. So imagine yourself rooting down on that strong base of a trunk, moving all the way up through the front of the body. And then from there, begin to ground down into that left foot, turning the right foot out. And remembering that just bringing these right toes to the mat is a tree all on its own. If you like to lift the toes from the mat, allowing the sole of the foot to find the inside of the leg. Or perhaps you like to bring the foot up to the inside of the thigh. Doing anything you like with your arms here. Tucking that left hip back up underneath the body. Pulling the belly button into the spine. And then when you're ready, bringing the hands back down, finding the floor with that foot. And then we'll take our tree to the other side. Grounding down into that right foot, turning out to the left. And then finding your tree. And when you're ready, we'll bring that leg back around in front, equalizing the hips, allowing that foot to find the floor. And then come back up to the top of the mat. Coming back up to the top of the mat, rolling the shoulders back, allowing the palms to face forward, tucking the chin slightly, coming to a nice Tadasana, mountain pose. And then from here, we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale as we sweep down, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale to fold. Allowing the fingertips to plant down to the floor. Now we'll walk the feet out to the outer edges of the mat. Again, just playing with what it feels like to take a wider stance in this forward fold. Just allow yourself to release down into this sort of wide leg forward fold. And if you like, you can take your peace fingers around your toes here and pull the elbows out to the sides. Remembering it's always okay to keep a little bend in the knees or even a big bend in the knees, whatever you need in order to bring this pose into your body. And now we'll release the toes, planting both hands on the mat here and stepping both feet back, coming into a plank or half plank. And then allowing the knees to drop to the mat. We'll take the knees out wide, shifting the hips back into child's pose. Inhaling to come up from child's pose. We'll bring the knees back to center. And you can stop here in your sort of half plank, or you can come to tabletop, whatever works best for you. We're going to take the left hand and send it underneath the right, coming into thread the needle. Pressing into that right hand, we'll come up from here. The left hand finds the mat, and then we'll bring that right hand underneath the left, coming into thread the needle on the other side. Pressing into the left hand, now we'll come back up to tabletop. And we'll allow ourselves to lower down gently to the belly. Taking just a moment here, bringing the stacked hands underneath the forehead, just allowing ourselves to really arrive here on the belly. Allow the spine and the pelvis to equalize. And we'll take the right hand in front of the face here, pressing into the mat, just enough to make some space for us to cross this left arm underneath the chest. And then allowing yourself to rest slightly on that left shoulder. Reach out to the other side with the right arm. Just allowing yourself to relax here over the arms. And how far you move the elbows away from each other really dictates how intense this pose can be in the shoulders. And if this does not feel good for you, you can come first to one side and then the other, much like our thread the needle pose, only with the hips resting on the floor. And now taking the right hand out from underneath and followed by the left. We'll shift to the other side. So now reaching the right arm underneath the left, threading the left arm to the other side, and feeling the stretch through the top of the shoulder. Just allowing yourself to breathe and release here. And then bringing that left hand back to the mat. Bringing the right hand out from underneath and coming back into crocodile. Taking just a moment here to relax and integrate. Feel what that feels like in the shoulders. And from here, we're really going to press the tops of the feet into the mat, allowing the hands to be released from underneath the forehead. We'll bring the arms down to the sides of the body. And we're going to come from here into locust. So palms are facing up, toes are pointing out, tops of the feet pressing into the mat for now. From here, we'll inhale as we send the fingertips back, lifting the chest from the floor. And you can keep the tops of the feet planted into the mat, or if you like, you can lift the tops of the feet from the mat. Really using those long back muscles. And then exhale to release. We'll take the hands now and interlace them at the base of the spine. This time, as we inhale to come up, we'll press the knuckles down and away. And lift the feet only if you like. Feet can remain on the floor. Really spreading those collarbones away from each other, pulling the shoulder blades back. And then exhale to release. Bringing the hands up next to the chest now, we'll press into the mat here and shift the hips back very slowly, coming into a child's pose, countering that back bend. Your knees can be close or wide here. And then inhaling to come up. You can cross the ankles here or shift the legs out to one side as we come back to a seat at the back of the mat. Stretch those legs out nice and long. A couple of options here. If this pose is challenging for you, you can always roll up the end of your mat. Sit on the edge of a blanket or a block. Keep the knees nice and bent. So allowing those legs to be as straight or as bent as you like. Flexing the toes back towards the face. Pressing the palms or the fists into the floor as we come into Dandasana. Pulling that lower belly in. And if you have a strap here, you can use that around the feet. If not, just inhale the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, really imagine yourself coming out of the pelvis, reaching forward over the legs. And maybe you only go forward a little bit here, and that's okay. Whenever you find that point, just allow your hands to come down. Rest gently on your legs or on the floor. Some days you may feel very comfortable in this pose, and other days less so. Whatever those thoughts, those judgments, those memories of past poses coming up, just allow them to come in and out like that ocean wave. Watching them come, watching them go. And then allow yourself to release from that pose. And we'll bring the left, what is that? The left sole of the foot to the inside of the thigh here, pulling the right toes back towards the face. I love it when I'm trying to teach and anatomy just fails me. Inhaling to grow tall here. And then exhale as we extend over this right leg. Just allowing yourself to breathe, perhaps making this a little dynamic. And then on your next inhale, walking the fingertips back towards the body. We'll allow that left knee to extend out long next to the right, bringing the right sole of the foot to the inside of the left thigh now. Inhaling to grow tall, maybe turning that belly button towards the knee here, bringing those left toes back towards the face as we exhale over the left leg. And then inhale, releasing from that shape. With our right leg bent here, we're going to turn towards the right leg and begin to bring that leg with us, coming up towards the top of the mat. So you'll see as you turn here that you've turned into your pigeon shape. So you may need to use your hands to readjust the leg, but bringing that right knee behind the right wrist and extending that left leg out nice and long here. Then you can inhale to come up to the fingertips, pulling forward through that left hip, pulling back through the right, and then staying here if you like, or when you become ready, exhaling to release over this right leg. And finding somewhere to rest your head, either on the mat or your stacked hands, or if you have a block handy. Remembering that there are lots of ways to support yourself in this pose. You can bring a block under your lifted hip, or you can even take this pose supine on your back. Inhaling to come back up. Let's sit back down on that right hip as we rotate towards the front. And then shifting around to the other side, extending that right leg out long, bending the left knee, coming to the other end of the mat, bringing that left knee behind the left wrist, and extending out long through that right leg. Inhaling up to the fingertips, squaring the hips, and then choosing to stay up on the hands or exhale to come into sleeping pigeon. Continuing to peel back through that front left hip, bringing that right hip forward. As we take this moment to pause, you may hear the thoughts becoming loud and insistent again, maybe telling you things you should or shouldn't do. Or perhaps In this pose, your thoughts become more tranquil. Whatever that experience is, just observe, just notice for yourself. And then we'll come back up from this pose, sitting down on that left hip now. We'll bring the right leg back around to meet the left and find our way down onto the back, bringing the knees into the chest here, rolling from side to side. And then we'll allow the arms to come open wide. And exhale as we allow the knees to roll to either side, taking the gaze over the opposite shoulder. Inhale, knees to chest. Allow the pelvis to reset. And then exhale, knees fall over in the opposite direction. Inhale, knees to chest. And then taking any last movements or motions or poses that you need to take here today. Maybe you come to happy baby, or maybe it feels good to cross the ankles, pull the feet back. One last moment of choice here. And then when you're ready, allow that chosen pose to let go and extend the arms and legs out long, finding your way into your Shavasana. Shavasana, a time to rest and to integrate all of the body has done in the last hour on your mat. Again, if you like, you might bring that image of the ocean wave back to mind. Imagining yourself as an observer sitting on this beach, watching the waves wash in and out. Noticing that the waves are synced up to your breath. Allowing your thoughts to be like the waves, washing in and out as you remain the detached observer. And continue to rest here in your own image of this beach, the smooth, soft waves. Begin to call yourself back, noticing the feel of the air on your skin, noticing the sounds in your own environment. Perhaps allowing your thumb to gently brush the tips of each finger, or just wiggling your fingers and toes. Take a deep breath, maybe coming to a nice good morning stretch, hands reached out overhead, toes pointing away, and then roll to one side. And slowly come up to a comfortable seat, allowing yourself to keep your eyes closed or your gaze lowered. We'll bring our hands to heart center and end today's class with a quote by Vinita Rashinkar, who says, "Detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you." Thank you for showing up for yourself today and showing up for this class. And I hope your yoga follows you off the mat.